This is the windswept coast of northern France. Near this spot in 1940, a naval drama of sweeping proportions played out on these beaches. What follows is a story of a naval operation that had the potential to be one of the worst disasters of World War II. The Dunkirk evacuation, codenamed Operation Dynamo, also known as the Miracle of Dunkerque. It was the evacuation of Allied soldiers during World War II from the beaches and harbour of Dunkirk in the north of France. It took place between the 26th of May and June 4th of 1940. That in a moment, but first, welcome to World's Worst Maritime Disasters, the channel that chronicles disasters at sea. I'm Allan Stokell. The operation commenced after large numbers of Belgian, British, and French troops were cut off and surrounded by German troops during the 6-week Battle of France. In a speech to the House of Commons, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill called this a colossal military disaster, saying, "The whole root and core and brains of the British Army had been stranded at Dunkirk and seemed about to perish or be captured." In his "We Shall Fight on the Beaches" speech on the 4th of June, he hailed their rescue as a miracle of deliverance. After Nazi Germany invaded Poland in September 1939, France and the British Empire declared war on Germany and imposed an economic blockade. The British Expeditionary Force, or BEF, was sent to help defend France. After 8 months of the phony war, from October 1939 till April 1940, finally there was action. Germany invaded Belgium, the Netherlands, and France on the 10th of May 1940. 3 of their panzer corps attacked through the Ardennes and drove northwest to the English Channel. By the 21st of May, German forces had trapped the British Expeditionary Force, the remains of the Belgian force, and 3 French field armies along the north coast of France. BEF Commander General Viscount Gort immediately saw evacuation across the Channel as the best course of action and began planning a withdrawal from Dunkirk, the closest usable port. Dunkirk was only about 24 miles or 38 kilometers across the English Channel to Britain. In a moment, how a British flotilla saved thousands of troops. Hi everyone. I have an update on the upgrades we've been making thanks to your support either on Patreon or just by watching commercials and supporting the advertiser's product. We now have a new camera set up capable of 4K and a new to us Manfrotto tripod with a great fluid head. We're searching for an editing program that fully supports 4K and still fits within our budget. All this thanks to your continuing support. Late on the 23rd of May, a halt order was issued by General Oberst Gert von Rundstedt, commander of the German Army Group. Nazi leader approved the order and had the German High Commander send confirmation to the front. Destroying the trapped BEF, French and Belgian armies was left to the Luftwaffe, but the order was finally rescinded on the 26th of May, the day the evacuation began. This gave trapped Allied forces time to construct defensive work and pull back large numbers of troops to fight the Battle of Dunkirk. From the 28th to the 31st of May, in the siege of Lille, the remaining 40,000 men of the once formidable French First Army fought a delaying action against 7 German divisions, including 3 armored divisions. On the first day, only 7,669 Allied soldiers were evacuated, but by the end of the 8th day, 338,226 troopers had been rescued by a hastily assembled fleet of over 800 vessels. Many troops were able to embark from the harbour's protective mole, an 8-foot-wide, half-mile-long pier used by 39 British Royal Navy destroyers, 4 Royal Canadian Navy destroyers, and at least 3 French destroyers, and a variety of civilian and merchant ships to load evacuees. Those not as lucky had to wade out from the beaches, waiting for hours in shoulder-deep water. Some were ferried to larger ships by what became known as the Little Ships of Dunkirk, a flotilla of hundreds of merchant marine boats, fishing boats, pleasure craft, yachts, and lifeboats called into service from Britain. The BEF lost 68,000 soldiers during the French campaign and had to abandon nearly all of its tanks, vehicles, and equipment. In his 4th of June speech, Churchill also reminded the country that we must be very careful not to assign this deliverance to the attributes of victory. Wars are not won by evacuations.
What General Weygand has called the Battle of France is over. The Battle of Britain is about to begin. Upon this battle depends the survival of Christian civilization. Upon it depends our own British life and the long continuity of our institutions and our empire. The whole fury and might of the enemy must very soon be turned upon us. He knows that he will have to break us in this island or lose the war. If we can stand up to him, all Europe may be free, and the life of the world may move forward into broad, sunlit uplands. But if we fail, then the whole world, including the United States, including all that we have known and cared for, will sink into the abyss of a new dark age, made more sinister and perhaps more protracted by the lights of perverted science. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duties and to bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour.
All 338,226 troops made it back to Britain. If the Luftwaffe had been left to strafe the beaches at Dunkirk, who knows how many would have been lost. After this serious military setback for the Allies, the war was ultimately won after the Soviet Union entered the war in June of 1941, and the U.S. finally joined in 7 months later in December of the same year. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, and if you found it interesting, give me a thumbs up and support me on Patreon. Thank you very much. I'm Allan Stokell.